Hey friends, it's Peggy Hall here with a word about masks. As a health educator for the last 20 plus years, I love to research and bring information to others so that they can elevate their physical, mental, and emotional well-being. And that's the good news, is that you get to choose the health behaviors that are suitable and appropriate for you. If you choose to wear a mask, wear a mask. And if you choose not to wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Your health is your responsibility. And my health is my responsibility. The government is not responsible for my health. The media is certainly not responsible for my health. Other people are not responsible for my health. And even my doctor is not responsible for my health. I am responsible for my own health. I choose the health behaviors that suit me, and you choose the health behaviors that suit you. For example, if you like to go to bed at 10 o'clock, you go to bed at 10 o'clock. If you like to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning, that's your choice. If you like to start the day with a smoothie, or with coffee, or with a cigarette, those are health behaviors that you choose. Some people prefer to exercise every day, others don't. Some people drink alcohol, others don't. Some people drink coffee, others don't. Some people take prescription medication, others don't. Those are all health choices that each individual makes, hopefully in an educated manner, after researching and investigating and determining for oneself what the appropriate health behavior is. So, having said all that, I would like to share some information and the latest research about wearing masks to help you decide whether that is a health behavior that you choose or not. And I know some of you will say, Peggy, I am required to wear a mask where I work. And I'm going to address that in just a moment. First, let me explain and remind you how breathing works. So our respiratory system consists of our nose, our mouth, our trachea, our lungs, and then there are other structures in the body like the bronchial tubes and alveoli and the cilia in the nose. All of these function together to filter and clear the air of any germs and bacteria and viruses before that gets into our lungs. Our body requires the free, unimpeded flow of oxygen. Oxygen is what is carried in through the nose or mouth, and it goes to the lungs, and then it's picked up by the blood, and the blood carries the oxygen first to the heart and then to every cell of the body. We can only live for a couple of minutes without oxygen. We can live a few days without water, and we can live for several weeks, some of us, without food. I carry a little extra padding with me for that purpose. But the oxygen is the most important component in life. And if we are deprived of oxygen, then we have a whole host of problems that are side effects of that. When we breathe in the oxygen and it's carried by the blood to every cell of the body, the cell uses up the oxygen and it releases carbon dioxide. That same carbon dioxide, the CO2, that is at the root of the climate debate. So as we exhale carbon dioxide, that is the toxic waste or the toxic debris or the metabolic waste of our body. And so you exhale that out through your nose, through your mouth. So we want to keep that unimpeded flow of oxygen in and out of our body. So here is the fact about wearing a cloth mask. And the reason I'm speaking about cloth masks is because the cloth mask is what most people have on hand, or they've purchased one, or they've sewn one, or they've made one, but they're not using an actual respirator. And a respirator allows for the carbon dioxide to leave and the oxygen to come in. And unfortunately, with the cloth masks, as well intended as they may be, they actually impede the flow of oxygen. So you are breathing in carbon dioxide. Think about it when you have worn a mask. Does it feel warm? Does it feel moist? Do you feel as though you can get that fresh flow of oxygen? These are questions that you want to ask yourself in order to determine your choice, your individual choice, as to whether you want to wear a mask or not wear a mask. Now, I do like to research, so I do want to read to you a couple of the latest studies about wearing a mask. And as I say, the wearing a cloth or a paper mask reduces the flow of oxygen. Now, before I get to the studies, I want to explain that when you reduce the flow of oxygen, your brain goes into a bit of a panic, like a panic attack or an anxiety attack, because it senses the oxygen deprivation. And what happens is a chemical is released in your body called cortisol. Cortisol is one of the stress hormones. There also may be adrenaline and other chemicals released into the blood that send out a feeling of alarm to the brain. When you have sustained levels of cortisol or adrenaline in your body, that is one of the most harmful chemicals in terms of your immune system. So your lungs are a very important part of your immune system. They are the first defense because you have in your nose, you have little cilia, which are hairs that will trap, it kind of acts like a mask. It will trap the germs and viruses. So that's why it's good to breathe through your nose instead of your mouth. But even your trachea has molecules and a structure to defend itself against viruses and germs. I think it's amazing. And then even if the germs get past your nose and they get past your trachea and they get into your lungs, there are little bronchial tubes that also are another defense against these germs, bacteria, and viruses that are thought to enter the body. Remember, germ theory is just a theory. I'll have another video on that later. But speaking about breathing, so you've got to exhale completely to expel all of the toxic debris. And when you're not able to breathe in and out normally and naturally, the sustained levels of cortisol will begin to harm your immune system. And likely the reason you're wearing a mask is as a line of defense so that you aren't infected. But remember, your immune system is actually your first line of defense. And people will say, Peggy, I have a compromised immune system. Or I live with a person who is vulnerable, they're elderly, or they have a lung condition or asthma. Absolutely, my heart goes out to you and those in those situations. That's why it's your choice. You choose what is suitable for your situation. That is because your health is your responsibility, as it should be, and my health is my responsibility. When you have high sustained levels of carbon dioxide, that can lead to shortness of breath. So then you start feeling that sense of panic, the brain doesn't like it, the body doesn't like it, and then you have an increased heart rate and increased blood pressure from wearing this cloth or paper mask that is obscuring your breathing. Then when you have those high levels of carbon dioxide, it is difficult for you to actually see clearly and hear things clearly. It's not just that the other person's mask is obscuring their mouth, which it is, but your ability to see and to hear becomes compromised because of the carbon dioxide. You may feel dizzy. You may feel confused. It's very likely you have a headache. And unfortunately, the final effect of increased carbon dioxide is unconsciousness and then death. Now, obviously, that's if you are completely deprived of oxygen, but I'm just explaining what carbon dioxide toxicity consists of. I've heard from very many people who have said that they were required to wear a mask at work and they noticed that they were fatiguing more quickly. And when they got home, they didn't feel well and they were having headaches and confusion. So please flood your body with clean, fresh air and oxygen. That is how we are designed. Now, aside from the breathing, let's just talk about the mask itself. It is the cloth and the paper masks become moist, and that moist area will trap the germs. And I want to share with you some studies. It's not just my opinion, but these are things that people have researched. And so if your goal is to not have the germs come into your body, you're possibly breathing them in and out right here rather than letting them be expelled into the fresh air and the sunlight. So let me just give you a couple of these references. The first one actually is very recent. And for those who follow the WHO, the World Health Organization, which you may or may not, but just to let you know that they also list all of the problems with wearing non-medical masks. Obviously, if you are a healthcare worker, you have a respirator, which allows the free flow of oxygen and carbon dioxide. There are people that are welders or they work with other toxic materials and they actually have a respirator that has batteries that regulates the airflow. I'm not talking about those whatsoever. I'm talking about kind of the makeshift ones that people are wearing. So the WHO says the problems with these non-medical masks are self-contamination because you're touching the mask quite a bit. I noticed that at the grocery store today, the checkers and the other people, they kept adjusting them, taking them off, putting them on. You know, one took it off, rubbed her nose and put it back on. Of course, this is just, that's going to happen. Reusing the contaminated mask is very bad. I've seen people with the masks hanging on their rear view mirror, like they put it on, take it off. And the WHO says that there are potential breathing difficulties. Now think about it. You're wearing a mask because you want to protect your respiratory system. That's what COVID is thought to attack, the respiratory system, right? It's not a stomach flu, and it's not, you know, that you've got a stuffy nose. It's in the lungs. So we want to keep those lungs open, allowing that free exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. And then they also go on to say that wearing a mask might give you a false sense of security because that's only one layer of protection and you might not be practicing other preventative measures such as washing your hands and so forth. Okay, so the next one is a very recent study, and this comes from the Annals of Internal Medicine, and I will put links here for you guys. It says that not even surgical masks or cloth masks are at all effective in stopping the spread of the CoV-2, which is this virus that causes COVID-19. And I quote, "Neither surgical nor cotton masks effectively filtered the COVID virus during coughs by infected patients. They are ineffective in preventing the dissemination from the coughs of patients with COVID-19 to the environment. They analyzed the swabs and they found that there were particles of the virus outside of both types of masks, suggesting that neither type can contain the virus." So I would like you to read that study if you're interested. There was an older study that did a randomized study with cloth masks. And what was very alarming to me, and this was published in the National Institutes of Health, so this is a very reputable source, and the randomized study with cloth masks showed that they actually increased the risk of infection. And I know that's the exact opposite of what those who are wearing masks are trying to accomplish. And then there was just a recent interview with an infection prevention specialist, Dr. Perencevich from the University of Iowa's College of Medicine. So this is his specialty. He specializes in the prevention of infections. And he said, not only do you not need a mask, but you shouldn't wear them if you are healthy. And the average healthy person does not need to have a mask and they shouldn't be wearing them. There is, and I quote him, "There is no evidence that wearing masks on healthy people will protect them." So I want to give you this information because you get to choose your health behaviors. And I hope that these are made on an informed choice. I got an email from one of my clients who said, "Oh, Peggy, I was walking with a friend of mine and we were so rebellious, we took off our masks." And I thought, why is that an act of rebellion? She's walking outside. She has the choice whether to wear that mask or not. And in my previous video, I explained why these public orders in California of wearing masks and standing, you know, separated from individuals and stay-at-home orders, all of those have expired along with the state of emergency after 60 days. And I believe today is day 65 or 66 of these orders which expire after 60 days. But that's in the state of California. So you decide your health behavior based on what works for you. Just to summarize, the most essential component of good health is proper breathing. We are designed to have a free and unobstructed flow of oxygen in our body and a free and unencumbered expulsion of carbon dioxide. You don't want to be breathing in carbon dioxide for all those reasons that I mentioned. When you deprive your body of oxygen, a chemical called cortisol is released, and cortisol is the #1 harmful component that will hinder and ruin your immune system. Cortisol comes from stress, and we know that stress will accelerate the disease or illness of anything. So you can Google cortisol if you are interested. So what that means is the cortisol that occurs from wearing a mask, because your brain and body sense that it's being suffocated, actually can harm your immune system. And I know you're trying to protect your immune system if you choose to wear a mask. If you have a compromised immune system, your doctor has recommended that you wear a mask. These are health choices that you get to make. You choose what's right for you. They choose what's right for them. We choose what's right for us. I choose what's right for me. My health is my responsibility. Now, I also want to encourage you to research, to investigate. Don't even believe what I say. Don't even take what I say at face value. I will leave the links. You could investigate and find some more. And if you find evidence on either side, please let me know. I would love to hear from you because I appreciate your support. And I look forward to talking to you next time when I will bring some information that will help you with your healthy behaviors so that you can live life fully.